Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a software designer on the team that brought you the appointment book, Chattis, patient check-in, and now portal scheduling. We're going to be talking about portal scheduling today. And I have my assistant here is Amanda, and she is our business analyst. So she, you may have heard from her to reach out to you to get client feedback. She helps us to figure out how big the stories are going to be and small the stories are going to be, the different features that we're going to bring you, and helps to keep us all on task, which we appreciate so much. So today we're going to talk about getting started with portal self-scheduling, a new feature that we just recently rolled out. And so, well, here we go, off on our journey. So what we're going to be talking about first is we're going to go through the portal user's experience. I want everybody to see it from the portal user's side, because that's not the side that you get to see it most often. And so I want everyone to understand, before we talk about the configuration, you know, what the portal user is going to see. So what are you doing that's going to affect that visual? And then we'll talk about the configuration side, what you need to do to set it up, and a little bit about considerations, things that you might want to think about as you're setting it up. And we'll talk about the future of portal scheduling. We've got a lot of really cool things that are coming for 10.4, and so we want to tell you all about those. So starting out with the portal user's experience, I'm going to do it in slides first, and then I'm going to show it to you live, because it's kind of weird to see it in slides, I think. It's just much easier to understand when it's live, but I do want to do the stills first. So inside the portal, you do have a section called the upcoming appointments section. So that shows the portal user any upcoming appointments that they have for their patients. In that section is where the new schedule appointment button will be if you have portal scheduling turned on. When you select that button, you will then be able to select a patient, and you select this thing called a category. This is new. This is not your visit type. We have created two hard-coded categories, sick and well, and there's a couple different reasons behind that, which we will investigate later, but for now, know that there are two categories, sick and well, and then when they do make that selection and move to the next page, that is where they will pick the actual visit reason that you tend to see on your schedule. They can also pick a specific provider or location, but they do not have to. They can choose any as a default, and it will then, you know, go through looking for all the options for them. So if they don't have a preference for something like a sick visit versus they maybe do have a preference for a provider for a well visit, or they do prefer a particular location, they are able to do that, but they also do not have to. Once they make those selections, then they get this huge long list of appointments. This is something that we'll be talking about as one of the new features coming out, changes how that looks. But for right now, for 10.3, what everyone has out there, should they choose to enable it today, is a scrolling long list of the appointment options. And then once they make a selection there, they will be able to confirm that selection and then optionally put a note in. This is where I'm going to pause and say, like, I know some of you are thinking in your head, do I have to have that, you know, can the note be required instead of optional? It is not required right now. It is optional right now. We will talk more about how that is going to change going forward, but right now this is the way that it is in 10.3. So having walked through that in slides, I want to actually walk through that in real life, just so that you can see the sort of interaction side. All right, so here I am in my patient portal. I have 4 patients. I'm going to pick schedule appointment. I'm going to choose my first, you know, whichever patient that needs a visit. Let's say it's Joshua, and let's say he needs a sick visit. And so I'm going to schedule Joshua for a sick visit. I can choose my appointment reason. I have chosen in my pretend practice here to put together a few different options. I'm going to just pick general sick here, and I'm going to choose any provider, any location. I just want to see someone as fast as possible. I am sick. And so I'm going to find appointments, and I get my nice long scrolling list. Of course, in my environment, I have lots of appointments. In yours, you may not. And so I'm going to say, gosh, you know, I want to come in, but I can't come in till after 4 o'clock. I'm going to do 4:15. and I'm gonna select my appointment. I'm looking at it saying, yep, 4:15, Dr. Gomez, that's great. I'm gonna schedule it. It's all scheduled. It's actually pushed into your appointment book at this point. And optionally, I'm gonna say, yeah, I haven't been feeling good for 3 days. Coughing, sneezing, etc. And I'm gonna add a note. And so that is the general workflow for today, right now. I would like to also tell you about some of the features that are coming in 10.4 to make this a little bit different. One of the things that we've done in 10.4 is to improve the navigation through the available appointments. And we are also bringing another category other than sick and well, and it will be called other. And that will give you some flexibility to be able to put in there whatever you want, like behavioral health or rechecks or what have you. And we will also be, hopefully, so those two are my higher confidence. My lower confidence is we may also bring you multi-patient scheduling. I do have that running. I have not tested it fully, but I'm gonna show it to you anyway. So it's gonna be just, it's gonna be by the seat of our pants here a little bit, which is always fun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to the middle ground. I'm gonna show you this 3 times. So the first one, we're not gonna do that. So what I'm gonna show you now is I'm gonna show you the new features that are of high confidence. We're thinking we're really gonna do these. They're out there, they're mostly tested. Oops, what did I do? I picked to look at the chart, that's not what I meant. Okay, so I'm going to schedule appointment. I'm going to pick Janetta this time. And we're gonna do, it doesn't matter, let's do a well visit actually. And when we do a well visit, I'm gonna say I have a favorite provider. My favorite provider is Dr. Gomez. Okay, and I love to come into the Lake Champlain location. And I'm gonna find appointments. So what's different here is that, oh, look at this. So this is awesome. I didn't plan this, but this is so great. So Janetta has a next physical due date, and her next physical due date is out into January. So it knows this and is not gonna offer me an appointment before January. So yay. So yes, it's been doing that from the beginning. This is new, not new, it does that now. So it pays attention to that next physical due date, which is calculated by your computer already for you. You do not have to manually input that. If you are manually inputting those, talk to your CA, because there is a way for it to automatically know how to do that. So then, as the new navigation that we've included here is to be able to pop this open and see all the options that you would like to see. You can see that Dr. Gomez doesn't work Fridays for well visits. And you can, move around the schedule and say, oh, actually, I want it to be on the 17th, and this will change to the 17th and give me the options for the 17th. You can also, move backward and forward in the schedule here. So very cool. And I'm going to say, okay, fine. Let's actually give her a sooner one because, we don't want to drag this out here. Let's give her the 15th of January. I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to select. And here's my appointment. And I'm going to schedule it. Thanks. Oops, I can't even spell. Okay, I don't know. Fantastic. So that is the middle ground. That's what we have really high confidence that we'll be able to do for 10.4. Now I want to show you like the dream 10.4. Like that'd be fun. Okay. Brownie. All of our designs or development servers are named after desserts. So you see a cobbler and brownie. It's fun. We have flan. What else we have? I don't know. That's the good stuff. Cake, donut, cookie. I'm not kidding. We have all those. Okay, so I'm on brownie here. This is the dream one. This is the one I really haven't tested much, so I really hope it goes right. So I'm going to schedule an appointment. Now, I've changed this around. It's category first and then patient. And the reason that we're doing that is because, oh, and hey, look at this. I have sick, well, and other. Yay. Then I pick my patient. Let's go with Maya this time. And guess what? I'm going to add another patient. And I'm going to choose, I don't know, who haven't I scheduled? James. So we're gonna take Maya and James, they're both coming in for a sick visit because they both are coughing. So then we're gonna continue, and I can pick general sick, maybe they both are coughing, so coughing, not feeling good. Okay, and I continue. I can do any provider, I can pick a provider, whatever I wanna do, I can pick a location, but I'm just gonna do any. And here we go, and I can come in as soon as 4 o'clock with Elizabeth Casey. And I'm gonna select my appointment. I see my 2 kids. Maya has an appointment at 4, and James is 4:05. I'm gonna schedule. It shouldn't have said 4:05, it should have said 4, just saying. Okay, and I'm really hoping that's gonna go in, but it's just, you know. Okay, well, eventually it will go in, or it won't. And we'll see. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna go back here. So I think, you know, you're basically seeing the gist. What we did there is not only we added the multi-patient, but we brought the note sooner. We eliminated the terminology optional. Technically, it's still optional, but hopefully no one will notice that for right now. And eventually we will get that to be an option that you can control whether it's optional or not, but right now. So yes, this is apparently not gonna complete. Let's not worry about that. Okay, so new features coming for the portal user experience, improved navigation, ability to schedule appointments. We're really hoping to deliver the multi-patient. As you can see, I need to get it to complete first. That would be really great. And we're hoping that with that multi-patient experience, we'll be able to move that note forward and make it look less optional, at least. So cool, that is the portal user experience. I wanna move on to the configuration. Let's see here. What did I do here? I don't know why I put that in there. Okay. So how to get started with portal scheduling. This is all about the configuration. The first thing that you need to do is you need to configure your visit categories. Then you are going to set your scheduling preference, which is how you designate availability. We're gonna talk about that a lot because that's probably the most confusing part. Then you will update your scheduling templates if you need to. Some people may not need to. Some people will need to. I put a little subset in here. Of course, you want to educate your staff and, you know, adjust any of your workflows. And then finally, you will enable portal scheduling. The fun does not end there because you will still need to test it and then monitor and adjust the appointments as they're scheduled. You do want to keep track of what's coming in because people make mistakes, and you'll want to make sure that you catch those mistakes sooner rather than later. You don't want somebody to schedule something, a well visit that is 6 months out and then call them 2 days before and say, gosh, you know, we're not going to be able to do this visit, da-da-da-da-da. You know, ideally, you want to catch anything that is wrong beforehand so that it can be adjusted when you have the most room in your schedule. So let's walk through, you know, what the choices are going to be and how these fit together. So configuring the visit categories. As I said, the visit categories are new. It is not the same as the visit type, which is the color, that if anyone is familiar with that. Visit categories are a new thing. They are hard-coded, and they are meant for portal scheduling only. And they fulfill 2 purposes. The first purpose that they fulfill is to, I'm going to say, focus the portal user in on the type of the visit reasons that make sense for that category. So as you know, many of you have the well visit reasons are very granular, right? You have your 1-year well visit, your 2-year well visit, 3-year well visit, 4-year well visit. Can you imagine for the portal user if you did not have categories and you went to go pick the visit reason and the list is this long and you've got 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5, and then somewhere in the middle of that is the sick visit and the rash and the whatever. And like they're sort of, you know, you have to read through the long list. It's either at the bottom or maybe it's on the top or maybe it's in the middle because of how it alphabetizes. It just would be very difficult for them to find the thing that they're needing to find. So we wanted to separate them into different buckets to make it easier for them to find. But the other reason, and this is you know, equally important, is that when somebody calls you for a sick visit, when do they need an appointment? Right away. They need an appointment within the next couple of days. When somebody calls for a well visit, when do they need an appointment? maybe they need one right away, but maybe they don't need one until October, or maybe they don't need one until next January. And so what we needed to do was, we know that we don't want to give the portal user the ability to determine when in your schedule you're searching for these things. We don't want someone to make a sick visit for December. That is not helpful. We do not want somebody to make a well visit just whenever they feel like it. No. So we need to tie what we call search rules to each category. So you'll see mine is very tiny print. That's a big screen, so hopefully it's big enough. On the bottom, underneath each category's configuration, there's this thing called search rules. For the version you have in your office, these are hard-coded, but in 10.4, they will be customizable. So right now, for a sick visit, when we search for a sick visit in the portal, we are searching beginning today, 1 hour from now, through the next 3 days. And that is what we're offering, only appointments that fall in that time. Even if you have slots out farther that fit, that's not what we're looking for. We're only going to look within that time range. For well, we're going to look for the patient's next physical due date and forward 3 months. Or if they do not have a next physical due date, or it's overdue, tomorrow through the next 3 months. That's how it went out the door and is in your practices now. In 10.4, you'll be able to customize that, but we'll show you that in a little while. So that's how it knows. Like, you watched me walk through that from the portal user side. Once I get the appointment list, I can pick which one I want. But no one asked me, do you need your appointment tomorrow? You know, what's your date range for the appointments? We didn't do that. We know generally what people need here, so we kind of locked that down a little bit more. So that's the reason for the categories, is to tie the search rules in. That also means that you have to be careful when you are setting this up, that you do not put something into those categories that doesn't belong there. Like, you can't just put behavioral health into well, because then they will be restricted by the person's next physical due date. You don't want that. So this is the reason we're adding category other as well. So that's what's going on there. So first job, for each category, you need to decide whether you want to offer that category or not. You can display for portal scheduling for the sick category, well category, both, one or the other, your choice. So you will decide that. Then you will decide for that category, which visit reasons do you want to offer? And that will be your choice as well. You can choose anything that you want for those categories. You will then choose the providers and the locations. Now, you might say to me, well, you know, I have things configured that show where the provider's locations, da-da-da. That is true. The reason for this configuration is more to think about this page as customizing what you want the portal user to see. So let's say you have a provider called Office, many of you do, or with your office name, or Dr. Flu, or oh, there's a host of reasons why we might have created an additional provider that is fake to enable some administrative task. This lets you get rid of those out of the list so that the portal user doesn't see those administrative things, because they're never going to pick them because it doesn't make sense for them. And likewise, any location like a flu clinic or something like that where they would never schedule a sick visit, you can just remove it from the list. Think about this as sort of decluttering the list for the portal user, making sure that they don't have options that just don't make sense for them. So that's really what that business is about there, choosing the providers and the location. Just like, think of it as just like cleaning up what the portal user sees. So there's that. Great. Let me see what else I have in here. So this comes into the next question. How will you designate availability for the search for availability? I think this is probably the most complicated part of the whole thing, which there are two options here. Generally speaking, what is happening is it is using the same functionality that you have today in the appointment book. So I'm going to try to show you an example here. I'm going to actually pop this open. I hope you all use this. So in here, I'm going to choose an all provider, all location. So I'm going to, here I'm looking for a sick visit. And what we're doing on the computer's end is we're saying, I need to find a green slot that is 15 minutes long. Show me the days that have a green slot that's 15 minutes long. They all do, apparently. And on the day of my choice, what are the times that I can fit this appointment into? This is the same thing that we are doing in the portal. So if you can do it here, you can do it there, is what's going on. So the question becomes, so generally speaking, the portal is finding the slots that are painted to match the visit type color. That is true for both options. Option 1 is, as my practice, I've gone and painted all this time. I'm going to let the portal user and my practice both use the same time slots. It's all going to just work the same. I'm opening it up to them just the same way I have it opened up to my staff. Made sense for my staff, makes sense for the portal users. Some people are totally good with that. Other people want to sort of lock it down a little bit more. So option 1, I started with option 2 because that's like the more open option. Option 1 is the more conservative, that's why it became option 1. I want to lock it down a little bit more option, which what we do there is I'm going to show you this actually, because this is confusing to say. Let's see, I don't want to be in here. I want to be in Cobbler. Okay, I'm going to show you. When you turn on option 1, in the provider hours, when you are working on your templates, we will duplicate any visit type that you are using in your portal scheduling, and we will put the preface or the prefix portal onto it. And I don't know if you can see this well on your screen, but there's a little stripe associated with each one. So I have 3 visit types: acute, consult, and PE. So when I turned on option 1 for portal scheduling, it made me automatically a portal acute with a stripe. It's green with a stripe. It duplicated consult, and I have portal consult purple with a stripe. I have PE, and it duplicated PE, and it's portal PE with a stripe. And so what I can do then is I can go through my schedule and I can say, oh, I've got these things all set up. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to change it to the portal acute. And I'm going to change this one to the portal acute and this one to the portal acute, and same here. But I'm going to leave this one, where am I? There I am. So I'm going to leave this one not striped. So what that means is the portal users, when they search, it's going to find these striped ones. But when I search in the practice, I'm going to find both. I'm not going to, I want you to be able to have the most access. You can put your visit wherever you want, in any green you want, but they're going to only be able to put theirs into the striped green. And that will keep you from feeling like, what if the portal user takes all the slots? That's that's the concern we're voicing in our head. So I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly you do have that control there available to you so that you can go ahead and do that. And what that ends up looking like in your schedule, I will go here and just kind of scroll through. So you can see here I've got some striped time and some not striped time in here. But if I search for yellow, it will find me both. So it lets you find both things. So that's what the 2 different options do. And let's talk about this still. Let's see if that was where I was going to show you. So this is what I just showed you, just in slides, but I think it's easier to see in a real life. Some suggestions. People still say, I'm not sure which one to pick. So here are a couple suggestions. If you're not using visit type colors, so your schedule is totally white, never used a visit type color before, some people are like that, then my suggestion is just use option 2. You know, paint the colors where you want the portal users to do their thing. Your staff will probably ignore the colors because they're not used to them, and don't worry about it. If you find you need to then lock it down even more, well, then you can move it to option 1. It's okay. You can change from option 1 to option 2. Totally fine. So I would start with option 2 because it's a little less overhead, and you've got a lot of new things going on there anyway with colors. So try to use option 2 and see how it goes. If you are using visit type colors and you want to designate which appointments go into which slots, then that's where you're like, okay, do I want to share all my slots or do I want them more restricted? And so, when you are actually using the visit type colors, you can go either way, but I think it's just sort of like your feeling on, whether or not how much you want to lock it down, or are you worried? Are you worried about what the portal users will do? Are you not worried? And so it's, that's, I think, where you're at there. So that's kind of how I would suggest thinking about it. After you make your decision, then you have to decide whether you're going to update your templates. If you're the version of you've never used visit types before, you're going to turn on option 2, you're going to need to create at least one visit type, and you're going to need to paint your schedule where you want the portal users to schedule. The portal cannot find slots that do not have a visit type associated. That like white background, portal doesn't see that. So that is, you will have to at least create one visit type. So that's how you will need to move forward. You will need to do some template updating if you're in that position. If you are using visit types now and you pick option 1, then you will need to go in and apply the patterns, just like I showed you. If you are using option 2 and you've had visit types before, you probably don't need to do anything. You're just it's all set up and you just need to turn it on. So that's terrific. So updating your templates, that's a probably, but for one situation, maybe not needed. And so when you get to the point where you're going to turn it on, that's where we are going to go into the patient portal configuration. That is where we turn on things in the portal. And you can check the checkbox, and that just enables it. It's the master switch. If you check it off and you get a bunch of appointments and it's freaking you out, you can come in here and you can turn it back off. It's okay. No one will see after you turn it off. No one will know you turned it on unless they made an appointment. You can go ahead and you can update your disclaimer should you wish to do that. Is another thing you can do. We provide a simple one, but you can update that however you like. Some considerations. That's sorry, this slide is so wordy. Anyway, what you're going to want to do is decide whether you want to do sick or well, or both. So some people want to start out with one and then add the other when they feel comfortable. Some just right away are happy to check off both of them. So that's something to think about if you're thinking about how to get started. Maybe one feels easier to you than the other. Perfectly okay to start with just one. Are your current visit reasons sufficient, or do you need new ones? So this is where we were sort of talking about on the sick side, maybe you just have one general sick thing, and maybe you're okay with that. But maybe you're worried about the note, so maybe you want to create some sort of more granular ones that'll let let the portal user choose from some common things that may help you, so that you're not so afraid that you don't get a note. You'll still know what they're coming in for. So those are possibilities. Maybe you want to consider for well, do you want to expose all those like 1 year, 2 year, 3 or 4, or do you just want one that's well visit? And then when it comes in, you'll change it to the right thing. You can totally do that. Whatever makes you comfortable. Some people have gone to like a grouping, like well visit, 1 to 3 or something, or 1 to 4, whatever, because that one maybe is longer than a well visit, 8 or whatever. So you can come up with some groupings if that is helpful, if you feel like that would help your portal user. Thinking just about what the portal user has to choose and what you want to see on your end. Just remember that as you deal with that, it has implications at a protocol level, where if you create some new visit reasons there and they're not granular, you will need to update that so that you get the right protocol. It also could affect CHADIS. Should you have CHADIS tied to your visit reasons, you're going to want to figure out what the right time is to change these things to trigger that and make sure that it still happens. So those are some things that you'll want to think about as you're configuring the portal scheduling. Also, we talked about the provider and location options and what could, eliminating things that could be confusing for the portal user. Considering the disclaimer note, that was obviously intended for a legal disclaimer, but some practices have added other information to that, that are sort of a little bit more instruction-y. Some things are really cool and some things are really long. So I would advise you to really think about what you actually need to say there. If somebody is on their mobile phone and they're making an appointment and they click schedule appointment and the entire screen is filled with 3 paragraphs of instructions and they don't get to even see where they can put the choices to make the appointment, you may not get a lot of people making appointments because they don't see what they need to be seeing. So just think about the length of that and keeping that in check. Certainly you can put anything you want there, but realize that will push down the interface for them to actually do things, and you'll want to make sure that you consider that as you move forward. Create a plan for reviewing the appointments that have been scheduled. I don't want to forget this one. I'm talking so much about the configuration and whatnot, but there is a report, library report, called Appointments by Scheduling User. And the intention of this report is so that if you run it every day, it runs, the default is for it to run for yesterday. And what it's doing is it's looking for all the appointments that were scheduled yesterday by everyone in your practice, all the portal users, everything. In the top corner, I know I have a picture of this somewhere, we'll probably scroll through later. In the top corner, there's a search filter. Type in portal. That will limit that report only to the visits that were scheduled by the portal users. And that way you will be able to, on any given day, review all the appointments that were made yesterday and check them and make sure that you can look at what their visit reason is, when it was scheduled, the note, who they are, all that stuff, flags and all that, making sure that they have enough time and whatnot. So that is your guide. Like, this is so cool. All the phone calls go away and things like that. But there's this these appointments just go in and they just go right into your schedule. So you need a way to keep check of that and make sure that what is happening is what you think is happening, and that if there are adjustments that need to be made, things that were oops, the wrong visit reason was selected or whatever, that you're able to go in and edit those appointments or call the parent and change it if it needs to be changed. So that's something that you really want to plan for is the after enablement. How does the workflow change, and how, what do you need to do to sort of keep track of what's happening there? And then, of course, I would suggest once you enable it, please test it. Create, you have your own portal user, with your own pretend patient, and go in and make an appointment and see how it looks to you, see how it feels to you. Make sure that, your category has, when you choose each of the categories, that it operates the way that you expect it to, because, I think sometimes it's hard when the thing that you're configuring isn't something that you see all the time. And so you want to make sure that it's operating just like when you have your phone messages. You want to call yourself periodically and find out what your phone message says. You forget about that because it's not something that you experience all the time. But every now and then you give your office a call and see what that experience is like. It's the same kind of thing. See what your online experience is like. So those are some considerations. And then, here's the picture of the reporting. So when you pull up your report, there should be more things on here than just this one. But this would be all the appointments or that were made for yesterday. And you would type in portal here, and it will limit it just to the ones that the portal users made. And you can add additional categories here. You could even, if you wanted to get super fancy, you can even use the report library to create 2 custom reports, one that reports on your sick category and one that reports on your well. That would be really pretty fancy, but you can do that. Just take a little effort. So on the configuration end, what's coming? Let's look at some sneak peek on that side. That would be really good. So what's coming is for the portal users, we talked about the navigation changes, the calendar style navigation. For all practices, we are allowing customization of the search rules. So what does that mean? Let's see which environment that this is in. It's in Brownie, I think. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's in Crawler. Let's look. I forget. We're changing the name of this configuration tool. It used to be configuration visit reasons. Now it's going to be configuration scheduling because it has expanded so much. So that's fun. So under portal scheduling, now you have all this customization available to you. So you can decide for sick visits, do you want to start offering sick visits today or tomorrow? Do you want, if it's tomorrow, then you don't have any lead, like a time lead there. But if it's today, you can say, okay, today, but within what? Within 15 minutes? Within an hour? You know, like how much lead time do you want? You know, do you want people just scheduling and coming in like immediately, or do you just need a little like window there? So you can choose your options there, and you can choose how far out they can schedule a sick visit. Can they schedule out 4 days, 5 days, 2 days? So just only 1 day. You can choose your options there. And for the well visit, same thing. Oh, whoops, this is a little slow to move, so it's freaking me out here. Okay, so for a well visit, we will offer the appointments beginning on the patient's next physical due date. That's just a given. But if they do not have one, or it's overdue, then when do you want to offer? Starting today or tomorrow? Again, if you pick today, you'll get to have that hour, the hour delay or shorter, should you choose to pick that. Or you can choose tomorrow. And with the well visit, you can offer up to some number of days, but I find it easier to go out to the end of my templated calendar. So that second option is where you would really use that one, I think, mostly. And or with the other category. And so now we have this new other category. So you'll be able to add things like your mental health or rechecks or things like that into there, things that didn't really smoothly fit under sick and well. And for that category, you'll be able to create your own search rules for that, depending on what it is that you're going to put in there. So that's pretty cool. What else do we have? We have a new prevention feature. Right now, portal scheduling can prevent all scheduling can be prevented by a flag. So there is a configuration in the preferences tool that lets you pick out some flags and say, don't ever allow us as a practice or as a portal scheduler to schedule for patients that have these sets of flags. Either whether it's account or patient, you can do both. What we're introducing is a way to prevent only the portal scheduling by flag, so that if you have certain patients that you just don't want them to portal schedule, they're just complicated, they require a lot of time, you can't adjust the time for them, whatnot. You want to put them in a very specific place because you want Mary to talk to them when they come in. Whatever it is, you can tag those patients with some kind of flag, and you can take that flag and you can prevent only the portal scheduling, but your staff can schedule just fine. So that is a new feature that is coming. High confidence in that, testing that already. And practices with care centers also get a feature here. One of the things that we noticed when we rolled out the portal scheduling feature initially is that because of the way care centers are constructed, it was difficult to turn the feature on just for one practice of the care center. And so one care center. And so we have done a little bit of work to make that a little bit easier. I'm not going to talk about that in depth because there's so few practices that actually use that care center feature. If folks need information about that, I'm happy to talk to folks offline about that. So those are the things that are high confidence coming in 10.4. And here's just slides about what those are. We've already looked at this calendar navigation, yay. We've looked at the customized search rules, sick and well, yay. Oops, category other, prevent only portal scheduling. This will be where you'll be able to pick out flags for both situations. And then just wanted to let you know we have over 50 practices using portal scheduling already, and that's just with our MVP release, which if you've been around for a while, MVP is minimum viable product. And so, what that means is that when we originally create a new feature, we tend to create it sort of as small as possible. We want it to be the smallest development that we can do to make sure that someone can use it, and then we get feedback and we improve it and we improve it and we make it bigger and we make it bigger until it has all the features that are needed to so we want to ramp it up so that more people jump onto it. So we're always listening when we create an initial rollout of something, because we want to figure out what's the next thing that we can add that's going to put the most people in using this, or get the most people using it again. So we're excited that we've rolled this out, but we are also still listening. So it's growing fast, lots of things coming in 10.4, which should be in October. And I hope you find that this is a tool that is pretty easy to enable. It doesn't require PCC to help you necessarily. You can turn it on yourself, turn it off yourself, and set up. You can certainly talk to your CAs, et cetera. Hope you would like to get started with it. I am happy to. I have a good, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes? I'm happy to take questions if people want to do that. Amanda.
Actually. We have 2 questions on chat from our virtual attendees.
Sure.
So I'll ask those first. And then this is a large room for me to be running back and forth in. So while I'm asking these questions, if you have a question, maybe you could come up to the center aisle and you could ask into the microphone so the virtual attendees can hear. I'm also happy to run around. So I'll start with the virtual attendee questions first, Erica.
Sure.
What if we, as an office, would like only the PCP as a choice for scheduling a well check-up for continuity instead of any provider?
I would say that is a great piece of feedback. The software does not do that right now. You will enable the providers that people can choose from, but it does not automatically select the patient's PCP.
And we have this wish recorded already, but we will add some more clients to that. Second question, could a parent make more than one well child check? Example, a 16-year well child check appointment for their child if they were trying to decide on which one worked better for their child?
Yes, they can. Right now, we do not limit the appointments that people can make. So yes, if they have an appointment on the books right now, they could make another appointment. Sometimes people do that because they do not have the ability right now to cancel that other appointment in the portal. And those are all great wishes. I would say this is yet another reason why we really want to review the appointments that people are making. You will see when you review it that they actually have another appointment. So these are good things to be checking on.
Okay, hands now. I'm just gonna run around, I guess.
So I noticed in the templates you had the sick and the well. So we have 2 types of sick visits. So we have regular sick visits and same-day sick visits. Okay. So the same day is a different color in our templates and can only be scheduled from the evening before to the day of. Is that still possible to separate those in the self-scheduling, meaning like to mark all of those slots available, but the ones for Wednesday can't be scheduled on Monday in a same-day 6 slot versus they can be in a regular 6 slot?
The portal will search for appointments based on color. So you can choose all those reasons if they're different colors. but you can only have one set of search rules. So I'm not sure of the answer entirely. I think we'd have to kind of look at it and figure out, do you really want to just open up the like 24-hour window as the portal, or portal scheduled appointments, or do you really want to open up all of it, and what would that mean? I think we'd have to test that situation and try to figure out, like, without really seeing your visit reasons, I'm not sure I can answer that question. Yes.
Hey, we're already using it. It's great. It's terrific. There are some things you did really nice jobs, like on there with the age at time of appointment. So I just found a 2-month-old who at time of appointment will be 3 months and a half old, so that's not okay. So that really helps monitoring it. So thanks for having the computer do that math. My wish would be, the thing that I think is the killer app for this is Flu Clinic and Beyfortus Clinic. And so if rather than calling it other, if there was some option for vaccine only,
Yes.
at the headline, level, and I know you only want to have 3 choices, but just that nugget on the vaccine only would be so cool.
We are considering whether or not to add a vaccine-only category even for 10-4. We might be able to do that. The question that is in my mind is, that will not necessarily solve the whole vaccine clinic issue. Like, there's a lot going on there that we did 8 or 10 client interviews around that topic, and my head was exploding with, like, wow, look at all these things that you guys are doing that I did not even know you were doing. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. But we're thinking about creating the vaccine-only category just so that you can kind of get started with it a little bit, even scheduling the ones that just come into the office like on a regular day rather than through a clinic kind of thing. Recognizing that those visits might have their own search rules, and that's why creating another category might be valuable there. The other thought we have related to that is, because of the way that those types of visits are scheduled, we might want to suppress the choice of a provider and just let it run any provider without actually choosing one, because that feels like we don't, some of the providers that we're using to do those types of visits are not things that people would know to choose. So
I'm sorry, you led right into the next thing, which is we schedule those on a nurse-only
right,
column.
and that would just
So
be
if
a
you can,
weird
if you
choice
can,
for someone.
but if you can build that so that when I pick vaccine only, it's dropping straight onto that, like that kind of rule would be awesome.
Yeah, so we're thinking about that, and creating another category is a pretty fast thing, so it's possible that it could get into 10-4. It's just the piece with the provider that is a little, it would be weird to roll it out without that, I think, because the choices are very strange in a lot of cases. But we'll consider it, and we'll try to figure out what to do. But definitely we're trying to scurry and get the rest of this tested so that we can get that last piece in. That's our dream.
So I want to second that request, all of that. That's really good. I have 2 questions, actually. So you talked about running a report that says, what was scheduled yesterday.
Yes.
Right, to review. What about what was scheduled an hour ago?
Is
there an alert that comes up if somebody does a...
There's no alert. It just pushes right into your schedule.
So the staff has to keep an eye out
on the schedule, because you can see the stripes on the, even if you are not using option 1, any appointment that goes into the schedule that's from your portal user will have a stripe on the color. So you will be able to see new things with stripes appearing. However, there's no alert. You can run that report as often as you want. If you want to run that report hourly, you go for it. Yeah. That's awesome. Whatever it is you want to do.
The other question is, for our sick visits, we have certain visit reasons that are 20 minutes, and others that are 10, and others that are 30.
Yep.
And when they pick the visit reason, does the system recognize that?
Yes, it does.
Hi, this might fall into one of the problems with the flu clinics, but like on weekends we have sick-only patients, and it's same-day sick, and we don't want somebody to be able to book an 11 o'clock appointment if we don't have a 9 and a 9:15 and a 9:30. So if someday it could be that you can't book a later one unless the earlier ones.
That would be a wish. We do
Yeah.
not currently book consecutively.
Right.
That is definitely something
that's the word.
that we heard when we were working with the flu clinic. We were trying to think of like, how could we do the flu clinics? And then when we got into it, we're like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. That was one of the things that we heard is, well, when we do flu clinics, we don't allow people to book at 3 o'clock if the 10 o'clock isn't full. We kind of like, we go in order and we only open those slots up later. And it's like, oh, okay, well, our stuff does not do that right now. So that is not something that I can implement very easily. So that is something that you could, like you could try to utilize some, blocking to deal with that, but it would be a real pain to maintain that. So I'm not sure that I would really recommend something like that. It's on our mind. We haven't forgotten about that, but we're not there yet. We're still in the very early stages of the product, of the feature.
Is a parent able to schedule the patient if their portal is locked based on age privacy?
No.
I have one question. I think it's wonderful. I've been waiting for this forever, and we're using it.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
we're using it as a same-day sick visit clinic.
Great.
So it starts at 8. But the problem we're having, I get in early in the morning, so I look at them to see. But a lot of the patients do not put the reason they're coming in. And there's some things that are just not appropriate for the kind of clinic we're trying to run.
I see. Yep.
Is there a way that you could make that mandatory, that they had to put something in there?
We have heard that wish for sure, and we're working toward that. Our 10.4 release will bring the note forward, and it will stop marking it as optional, so it will look less optional.
Okay.
Technically, it'll be optional, but no one needs to know that.
Right.
And so that I think will help you.
Okay, great.
You could also implement some more granular visit reasons should you wish to do that. That's another direction that you could go.
Yeah.
But there's implications of that, so you'll want to think about that carefully. But that is an option, should you want to not have just like general sick, maybe there are if there are specific things that you use that for,
Right.
then maybe make those only the choices, and don't let them choose things that aren't there. And they can always call you if there's not, and we do signpost that in the product as well. It specifically says, if it can't find an appointment for the thing that you chose, it'll specifically say, call our office. Because we don't want people to think they can't make an appointment just because there's nothing available in the portal scheduling. So we do specifically say to call the office should they not be able to find it, should it return nothing.
Thank you.
As I walk back to the middle of the room, I did have one client tell me that what they've done until this wish gets granted is to educate their patients as they're coming in and saying,
right.
we really need you to put a note in.
Yes, that has definitely happened.
In the last session, Lynn hinted towards some of this as well, and I asked a question about if you have a block of well visit time, for instance, and it starts from, I don't know, let's just say from 8 to 10, and they're half-an-hour appointments. You don't want someone booking at 8:15. And Lynn suggested that there is some type of configuration to prevent that, but she didn't elaborate.
You could use the portal, the option 1, and you could put your portal scheduling stripe pattern on only the section that you want them to book into, if you wanted to do it that way. You could, depending on how many you have, you could institute some kind of blocking. That's another option. Those are some of the things I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm not sure, without looking at your specific situation, that would be what I would sort of look into first.
Does the system know that somebody is like, how when someone in-house is actually scheduling the appointment, that it doesn't like show up for them as an option, that there's no like double booking happening at the same time?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So somebody in the office is actually on the phone scheduling with somebody, and then someone also on board is doing it.
The hold, the held
Yeah,
by.
exactly, the held. Does it
No,
see the
it
held?
does not do the held by. That was something we could not technically do. And so, yeah, you will not see those appointments. How do I say this? This was something we considered early on. So
it's available.
If you are clicked on a slot and they schedule, it's sort of first served, right? So So theirs will go in and then you'll see it appear, right? And so then you'll be like, oh, bummer, like they just took that slot from me. Otherwise, it could happen the other way where you're working on one, they're working on one, they've picked that slot, you go and you put yours in. When they go to schedule it, it'll say, sorry, that slot was taken, and it will bring them back and they'll have to choose again. So it won't let them double book over something you've done, but you might see it if they are starting to do it, you're holding a slot and they sort of steal it from you. That could happen. I don't know how often that is actually happening in the wild, if people are using that and it's happening to them a lot. I'd love to know about that.
All right, and I believe we're at time, so one more question.
Okay.
So will a block, like when we physically block something, will that prevent someone at home from putting in an appointment?
When you block something, that prevents anyone without forced permission, which the portal users never have forced permission.
The question that someone had about like filling up the schedule, if we were to hold, like physically block certain appointments, then you would restrict your families from blocking that 4 p.m. versus that 10 o'clock.
Right, you're taking up time in the schedule.
And as they fill, you just release.
Yes, so you're taking up time in the schedule. The problem with that is just that it's time consuming.
Right.
You have to put in block each individually versus if you used option 1 where you're doing the planning with it being striped, then you can go and you sort of basically are blocking the places where they can schedule instead of where they can't schedule.
So, and then this will be the last question.
Yeah.
So for us, we have 2 types of sick. We call one special and one just the regular green, which can be a pre-sick or it could be a same day. Would the color be preventative because it's a different type? Or would a different type of appointment then be restrictive so that if I'm always using my red for those late afternoon appointments that I'm trying to salvage?
I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but I will say this. Let's say you have the sick category and you have 2 kinds of sick and they have different colors. You can put those different visit reasons into the sick category. It will let you do that. And when someone goes to schedule a red sick, it's going to look for the red slots. If someone goes to schedule a green sick, it's going to look for the green slots. It doesn't care that there's red and green in the same category. Okay. The reason for the category is because it controls the search rules. So you should be able to do that and have and the system should find the correct color slot. It will look by color.
And then the last part, sorry, it's about insurance. Because if we're not collecting insurance over the phone or we're not checking something, are there limitations in the system or any sort of restriction?
No, there are not. It will if you have pre-check turned on.
Right.
As soon as that appointment is made, if it's like current, like it's within the 3-day window, when they come back to the screen where they see where the appointment is made, the pre-check button will be right there. And so they'll be able to go and do pre-check, which will collect their insurance information.
So it's sort of integrated. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for spending so much time with me. I hope you enjoyed learning about the portal scheduling, and I hope you go home and enable it and give it a try.